Daybreak here on I-Fiber1 News Radio. We've got some great guests in studio as we dive on down for the port of call today. Carol, we have Wendy Smith, Al Frey, and Dick Taylor on the air with us. And morning, gang. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see everybody here. Wendy, Dick, you guys are here weekly, and you've brought Al along. And Al, what's your title with the port?
I'm the port's maintenance and environmental manager.
Okay. So you got a lot to do. I mean, there's the marina, there's the Johns Prairie area, and Sanderson Field. So you got a wide variety of things that you need to maintain there.
Yes, I do. It's why I lost all my hair. The different hats I spin around daily.
So, Wendy, why did you bring Al in today?
I actually brought Al because I thought it was fitting with the Cascadia Rising event coming quickly. Al actually spent time overseas in Thailand a few years ago, about 5 years ago to be exact, and he happened to be in Japan in the airport during that big earthquake. So
wow.
I thought he could tell a pretty good story, so to get us prepared for the week ahead.
So Al, what was that like? What was the earthquake? What was on the...
That's where the hair went, right there.
So are you trying to get out of Japan here? Are you starting something? Are you at the tail end of an adventure? Or why are you in the Japanese airport?
Well, we had been in Thailand on vacation, and on our return trip home, we had a connecting flight out of Narita from Bangkok. And we left Bangkok like 5 in the morning, and it's a long flight. We got into Narita, and we were struggling. I had made all of our connections within about 10 minutes, so we were struggling to get up to our other terminal. And we got up to the terminal, and as we were sitting there, the screens on the big windows came down. And I was sitting next to some Navy SEALs, and we kind of all looked at each other like we didn't understand what was going on. And about 3 or 4 minutes later, the shake came.
Wow.
And it was, there was a 747 outside the window, and literally its wings were flapping like a bird. And I grew up in Southern California, so I, grew up in the earthquakes and earthquake training, and then I was working at the port in 2001 when we had the Nisqually quake. And this was vastly more hardcore than either of those.
What was the final Richter scale of that one? Do we remember?
Over 9.
Okay, yeah, so pretty big.
There was one big quake, and about a minute and a half later, there was a second quake that was larger. And the ceiling tiles were falling. The big screens and the terminals were moving probably about 3 or 4 feet off center. And literally, you had to hang on to something or you would have fell.
Is this a new airport, a modern airport you would consider?
Yes.
So it probably had the earthquake stuff, the safety features installed, but still scary.
Yes. Well, we assume that that's why those screens came down over the windows, was to protect the
broken glass.
The broken glass. And we literally had watched our air crew load the plane, and we were waiting to load the airplane, and we saw them go down, and the earthquake came, and they slammed those doors. Well, the people I was with, they said, God, what do we do now? And I said, well, we run down that ramp and get on that airplane if another one comes. And well, why is that? And I said, well, there's food, there's water. It's 100 feet off the edge of this terminal if the building collapses, and we won't be in it. Well, when the second one came, they locked the doors and literally locked us into that terminal.
Oh, wow.
And then after the 2 events, they moved us downstairs, which was kind of odd to me. But then they took us outside, and it was getting dusk, and we were all in, coming out of the tropics, we're all in shorts and Hawaiian shirts, and it was really cold. It was starting to snow. And at that point, they moved us back into that terminal, and the Army came and literally locked everybody down, and you couldn't get in, couldn't get out. We didn't have any yen, so we couldn't use the machines. And so to give one of the airlines a plug, we flew on Delta. And Delta, I mean, they took care of their passengers. They gave us blankets, they fed us, they gave us water, and none of the other airlines did. So,
oh, wow.
So it was kind of a group thing that everybody was kind of feeding everybody. And, there had been like 9 flights come in behind us from the same. So there was, 2,500 people in our area just from our flights. And then 36 hours later, they decided they would fly out. And, of course, I was, I'm going to be on that first flight out, not staying here. But the part that I remember before I left for earthquake preparedness was that I had set up some call places that I would call in case there was an emergency, and sure enough there was. But when I called, it was 4 o'clock in the morning here. And so I called the supervisor, Ned Wilson. His son answered, and I go, hey, is this the Wilson household? And he goes, no. And I was going, well, don't hang up. Because I had, first time in all my career at the port, I'd been there almost 17 years, and I'd left my phone. I was going, I'm going off the grid, I'm not taking my phone. And this time I didn't take, I wished I had it, but a guy from Australia loaned me his phone, and I wandered around until I found one spot that had one bar, and I got through. And so I finally got through to family, and they made all the calls for us.
Oh, wow.
That was very important.
That's pretty...
Did it seem like the people there were prepared for an event like this?
Yeah, I was impressed that the people that worked at the airport stayed on staff. And there were 2 guys that stood at the Delta counter for 36 hours and literally argued all night long to try to get that plane, because we saw our people go on board and they wouldn't fly. And then they came to me, well, you work at an airport, you know what it looks like out there. Yeah, well, my airport's not a little bit different than this one. So, but yeah, and after, when they finally, the most interesting thing was when they opened the airport, as we walked down, I was getting a sore throat, and I didn't want to get, quarantined there, so I was going to look for a pharmacy to get some throat lozenges so I could get out. And I was walking down, there were no restaurants open as this airport was opening up and people were starting to filter out. And as I walked down, there was one gal standing out of Gucci, and she was offering perfume samples.
Oh, well, it's practical, I guess.
Yeah.
Stuck in the airport for 3 days.
Smell good, yeah.
Smell nice. Wow.
So the runway itself wasn't affected, and
No.
you guys were able to fly out there?
Yeah, it was virtually dead silent on that airplane when we got on. And once you could feel the tires come up, everybody on that airport lit up and cheered.
Started cheering, I bet. What were some of the things that you learned or you could take to provide us with some information about this big Cascadia Rising thing that's happening next week?
Well,
being prepared, just making sure you know, because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And, in my car, I carry a 24-hour pack in my car with water and food and a blanket. In all my cars, I carry that. And my kids and all of my family, we have, areas that we plan on meeting if we can. But that's probably one of those, call list, people that, you can call and have numbers that, and those 24-hour packs to take care of yourself for that 24, 72 hours that you're going to be alone.
Wow.
Is really very important.
Do you think that you are more prepared because you've been through something major, or are you just more that type of person? Because we talk about it all the time, and then it's like, okay, do you have your stuff? Well, no, I haven't really got it done yet. I mean, how do you get a person to get prepared?
With our staff, when we came back, one of the things we talked about was, like under desks, we put a whistle under all the desks. If the building collapses and you're under your desk, as we've been trained to do, and they can't find you, got a whistle that you can blow under
smart.
that desk. So it's little things like that people can do that will help them. And so, the call-out list, that 24-hour pack, and, but raising California, as little kids, they taught us, from the day we were in kindergarten for earthquake training. So it was almost, it's like first aid, when it happens, you just automatically start doing things that you've been trained for your life to do. And the people I was with, I pointed out, because I was under blankets looking out and all night long. But I told them, there were some Navy SEALs that were close to us, and I said, look, if something happens to me, I says, you hook up with those guys, because they'll get out. And so I had picked up a 90-year-old man that had got dropped off by his daughter. She was going to D.C., he was coming to Seattle, and there was a blind girl. And I picked those 2 up and took them with me to make sure that they, had what they needed to have. And I got water and blankets and all that. And
nice. Nice.
And I think that's important, is to take care of the people that are near you.
Right.
And we're a community, and that's what it's all about.
For sure. Strangers, but you all have this common experience now. Wow. Wendy, Dick, how's the port ready? Are we ready for the influx of people next week? And when do they start showing up here?
They're coming Friday night to start getting in the fairgrounds and getting, so and I was just going to throw in that at the port we do a pretty good actually Al leads it, and then they kind of rotate who's in charge, but we have a safety person every year, and we do safety meetings, and actually we're going to include, it used to be just maintenance, we're going to do it at all staff. And so we just watched a safety video on earthquakes, and we all went outside and talked about where the gas shutoff is, because chances are they're in the field. So if it happens during the day, it's going to happen for us to turn the gas off. We designated a spot to meet. You know, we all already have cards in our wallets that, you know, of commissioners and all the staff, so we can contact, you know, and figure out who's where. And so we're somewhat prepared. We're talking about maybe food supplies, just to have on hand something like a 24-hour in case we get stuck in the building. But yeah, so we're ready for the groups coming in, and we're ready in general. So
One of the things to look at in an earthquake, like a massive earthquake, is that when it happens, the first responders are going to be affected by the earthquake as well. They have families, and they have concerns that they're, you know, that they may not come to where you are.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to be ready to be able to take care of yourself. Have your packs. If you're on meds, make sure you've got some extra meds, a week or so of them, if you can keep them. You need that. If you're diabetic, you need those kind of things to keep in a standby, so you can have that. And that's what we need to look at while we're doing these kind of things.
Well, this week's definitely going to put a focus on these preparedness for us around these parts, and hopefully we all can take something from it and get these packs going. Again, there's going to be a lot of people, but this is not necessarily a situation where we want folks being looky-loos.
No, there won't be anything to see, really.
Okay.
I mean, they're out there, and they're going to be in their tents, and they're going to be in their, you know, command centers, and there's nothing really all that exciting going on for that part of it. There will be some aircraft coming in and out, in helicopters, and I think the Osprey's going to come in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to be, that's the tilt wing guy that the Marines fly.
Wow.
it's going to be noisy.
Yeah,
So
okay.
people should be aware that there is going to be a lot of noise next week.
So they come in, start Friday night. Governor Inslee's not going to be here till the 8th, so this is like a full week's worth of activities.
Right.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep people aware and make sure they know what's going on and not to
They don't freak out.
start freaking out.
Yeah, we're all there, yeah.
Wendy Smith, Al Frey, Dick Taylor, thanks for coming in today. Good story,
pleasure,
nice story.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing it.
I betcha.
8:56. We'll be right back after this.
You're there?
Strawberries, drive-ins, and going barefoot. They're all worth celebrating this